Today, for our Around Town series, it's a special show for you. We actually left Bethel Park. We're down here at Construction Junction. And you know my love of the building industry, my love of construction. What better place than to give you a tour of a place for the reuse of all your construction material. So whether you're building a new house, whether you're redoing, reconstructing, you don't have to throw out the material anymore to the landfills. There is a place that can be used, a place that you can go and recycle all your building products. And this is it. So at Construction Junction, you'll see the doors, you'll see the toilets, you'll see everything. So really looking forward to showing you around today and letting you learn a little bit about one of the true hidden treasures of Pittsburgh.
The idea for Construction Junction was really hatched among three different environmental nonprofits: Conservation Consultants, the Green Building Alliance, and the Pennsylvania Resources Council. And essentially those organizations obviously are working in green building and energy conservation and recycling, and there was a feeling that Pittsburgh really should have a used building material operation. There are Construction Junction like organizations in most big cities around the country, and Pittsburgh at that time didn't have one. And other organizations that take used materials like Goodwill and Salvation Army, and they don't really obviously handle building materials. So organizations like the Pennsylvania Resources Council that are taking questions from the public about, well, how do I reuse this and how do I recycle that? We're getting questions about, well, I've got all this leftover construction material. What can I do with it? And there wasn't a good answer. So those organizations went out and went to different used building material retailers around the country, looked at their business plans, looked at their business models, looked at how successful they were, how long they've been in operation, and basically came back with that knowledge and created the plan to create Construction Junction. Pennsylvania Resources Council ended up being the organization that took that plan, decided to own it, and to get it funded. And they went out to the foundation community in Pittsburgh and got some funding from the Heinz Endowments and an anonymous foundation to basically put the seed money together to start Construction Junction. I was fortunate enough to know some of the folks that were working on this effort. They reached out and contacted me and asked me to come in and talk to PRC and see if there might be a fit. Initially, I really didn't think there would be. I'm not a contractor. I'd not done any really retail operation. I'd been involved in nonprofits. I'd been involved in income generating efforts connected to a nonprofit. So I had a good idea about what was needing to be accomplished. But long story short, the relationship worked out, and 15 years later, I'm standing here talking to you about how it got started. The first thing that I was asked to do was to help find a location. And we looked at about 30 different warehouses all around Pittsburgh, in the Strip District, in the West End, and we knew from conversations we had with other organizations that started these kind of what we needed, what size warehouse we needed. We needed to be one floor. We needed there to be parking, all these kinds of things. There weren't very many locations in Pittsburgh that really fit the bill. Either the warehouses are too tall, there wasn't enough parking, access was tough, but we did land at a 30,000 square foot warehouse underneath the 62nd Street Bridge in Lawrenceville. And we opened on November 12th, 1999. On the first day of operation, we had 5 sales for $186. We had a staff of 3 people, and we were all basically doing everything. I was driving the truck to pick up materials. I was working the cash register. My cash register person would drive the truck. I mean, so it was very bootstrap kind of effort. But it really resonated with people right out of the gate. And essentially, we were in that location until about the middle of 2002. And in late 2001, we were looking at how things were going. And we were like, well, this location isn't going to work for the kind of positive response we were having. It wasn't visible enough. There wasn't enough parking. So we're like, okay, we need to relocate. We need to find a better location, bigger warehouse, bigger parking lot, more visibility, more accessibility. And we basically, in 2002, we moved into this building in the East End. It's 102,000 square foot warehouse. When we moved in, we took over about half of that amount of space. And that would have been in June of 2002. And over the years, we've grown and expanded to the point that now we have the entire 102,000 square feet of the building. We have all these great partnerships with other reuse organizations that are nonprofits. We've looked at creating additional recycling opportunities for people other than to be able to reuse building materials. We went from that, first day of 5 customers and $186 to basically our daily average is about between 150 and 160 purchases, and we're averaging about $4,500 a day. Every year that we've been in operation, it's grown. So that those 3 to 5 employees in year 1, now we're at roughly 30 employees.
How does Construction Junction actually operate?
We're a nonprofit organization, and we were created to keep building materials from the landfill. We do have a board of directors. There are 19 individuals on our board. And some of those individuals have been here since the beginning of the operation, so we have some good institutional knowledge on our board. We brought in new members over the years with different expertise and skill. Pretty much everybody on our board that's gotten involved with the organization has just been very passionate about the mission, very passionate about reuse.
Okay, Mike, we're at the first step of Construction Junction. Why don't you tell us where we are and what we're looking at here?
You're in an area of the warehouse that we call the back 40. And this area is where the material that's either picked up by our pickup crew or deconstructed by our deconstruction crew comes in to the operation.
Okay. And in this is a staging area for what?
All kinds of stuff. This morning we just got a tractor trailer load of used carpet tile that's come in. Anything that our truck goes out and picks up. So those are bigger donations. They might be full kitchen sets. They might be pick up from commercial operation, might be picked up from somebody cleaning out a warehouse. So bigger volumes of material than what an individual would throw in the back of his or her pickup truck and drop off at our other receiving area.
So everything that comes in here is just dropped and sorted later, or do they actually sort out here?
It gets dropped here, it gets sorted here, it gets entered into our inventory system, it gets priced, and then it goes out onto the floor. If we have a big volume of something, we may separate that volume and store some of that material back in this area, and then we would send the rest of it out onto the retail floor.
And what are you doing here at Construction Junction?
I work here in the warehouse, and I have a variety of tasks, whether helping customers load out things or put things from the floor. out into the store and sorting things, which is what I'm doing right now.
Okay, when you're sorting things like we are now, are these items that came from just homeowners that brought them in?
So we have a variety of places where these come from, whether homeowners or businesses that want to give us, overstock, or warehouses that are closing that want to get rid of things. So yeah, it comes from all over the place.
Do you know where these items came from?
I think these came from a warehouse.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you're sorting to make sure they're saleable items, and then you clean them and tag them, or what is your actual process?
Yeah, so just separating. I mean, when things come in, they can be quite messy. Just different tools with books and odds and ends. So just putting things together, making sure that everything, we're not selling junk, and yeah, just putting them in bins and putting them out on the floor.
What got you interested in Construction Junction?
I love crafting things, and I'm always tinkering with projects. So I shopped here a lot before coming to Construction Junction to work. So yeah, it just feels like it's a really great place.
What is your job title here?
I'm the deconstruction manager.
What does that mean?
We do a lot of salvage. We work with demolition jobs, gut rehabs. We go out in the field with a truck and tools and some people, and we actually physically remove stuff from buildings.
And that's what you've done the entire 13 years you've been here?
Pretty much. We also fill in around the warehouse when we have any downtime. We either build or we just help with the retail or customer service, whatever we have to do.
Do you have a background in building or construction, that this is what you do, the demolition?
Yeah, I've knocked around a bit.
What did you do before you came here then?
Mostly in Pittsburgh, mostly home renovation. I worked on a few movies in the early 90s, just this and that.
Okay, the deconstruction part of it, how many projects do you do a week? Do you do one every day or every week? What's the number?
Well, it varies a lot depending on the size of the projects. We go out and we might be only out for an afternoon, or we could be on a job for several weeks.
Okay. What's the biggest one you ever did?
Usually that would be connected to some sort of an institution or a large corporation. That would be, we were able to work in the Braddock Hospital when it was coming down, or the Rangos building. That was through UPMC. And then, for instance, schools, Penn Hills High Schools, jobs like that tend to be the larger jobs.
Is it hard to deconstruct?
You have to go in and you want to do your job. You don't want to get in anybody's way. You want it to be a good experience for the people you're working with or for, and then you want to recover as much stuff as you can that'll satisfy your customers. So, the taking the stuff out is kind of just a piece of what you have to be mindful.
Is it hard to remember how to put things back together again once you take it apart?
Yeah, that's actually a very important thing because you can spend hours taking something apart, and if you leave the widget behind or you bring it back here and it's not properly tagged and the widget gets lost, well, then you just have a pile of pieces. Mm-hmm. So yeah, that's a very important part of it.
How many people do you have working for you on your staff?
Permanent staff, there's myself and I have two co-workers that I work with. But we do bump crews up when we have large jobs. Right now we have a partnership with Goodwill where we use one of their job programs. So we can have crews as large as, let's say, 8 people if the time is very tight and there's a lot to do.
Is there any one type of building or structure you like to dismantle more than the rest?
Yeah.
Which one?
Well, what we look for, the things that are the best for the store, is I like to see something that's very old and has not been touched, so it can be in terrible condition. But the big thing is that it's old, but also it hasn't been renovated in the 50s where they've torn everything out. Or I look for something that's that's newer and the stuff is modern, but it's in good condition.
Do you like to tear down houses or barns?
Well, we've done both. We don't do a lot of full, what you'd call demolition. And the reason for that is just basically the numbers don't work. What the other thing that we have to keep really in balance is that we are working there. We're taking a donation, so we're not being paid to be there. So we're a nonprofit. We're not making money in a typical business sense, but we can't lose money either because we don't get a lot of funding. So so it's a bit of a tightrope that way.
Now, if somebody has a house or part of a house or they're remodeling and they want to donate it to you, do you have to come out and take a look at the project before you commit to do it, or what's the process?
Usually if someone gets in touch with us, we'll schedule an appointment. And if it's something that's very small, we might say, well, we'll just, and it sounds good, we'll just show up and do the work. But if it's something that's a little more entailed, it's always good to look at it. Also, so that the donor also that we try to meet their expectations. So if we can't meet their expectations, it's good to let them know that right up front. And the only way to really do that is to look at the project.
Do you enjoy your time here?
Oh yeah. This is a terrific work environment. I really like the people that I work with. The customers here tend to be very creative, and we have a really nice crowd that comes in. So yeah, there's a lot. I really like it.
Any last comments?
No, I hope that we just continue to expand and develop more nonprofit partnerships, and that people keep come on down to the store.
Tell us what we're doing here.
Okay, so this is where all of the residential folks come to drop off their materials. So they pull up to our loading dock. The guys that work on the dock will basically screen what they're bringing in. As you can imagine, not everything is in a condition that's resellable. We can only accept things that are reusable. So people sometimes will bring in things that we just can't accept because they're just not in good enough condition. But most of the time, what people are bringing in is good stuff. It's reusable. So these guys will help the donor unload, put it on the loading dock. We'll go through things that we can price immediately. We put a price on it. We enter it into our inventory system, and then it goes right out onto the floor. Things that might need a little bit more research, might be in significant volume, or need a little bit more processing done to them, we'll go back to the area where we just were previously that we called the back 40. And that's where any additional processing, so if a door comes in and it has the knob and the hinges on it, then that door is going to be put on that A-frame over there, and it will be taken back to our door processing area, which is where we have our Goodwill training area. So we have Goodwill job trainees who will remove the hardware, remove the hinge, measure the door, put the door size on it, and then our inventory manager will price that door, and it'll go out onto the floor.
Construction Junction, what's your title, what's your capacity here?
I'm the store manager here at Construction Junction, and the capacity is, well, everything. A little bit of everything, that's what I do.
Okay, how long have you been here?
A little bit over 6 years, probably 6.5 years now.
What was your first job here, your first day?
Oh, warehouse associate, just like everyone else starting out, just moving things from A to B. Yeah.
And what made you stay?
Oh, it's just a great place to work. I mean, great people, great customers, interesting inventory. I mean, there's no place like it. So,
do you have a background in construction or anything, or what brought you here in the first place?
Luck, actually. I originally went to college for visual effects and motion graphics. Not what I do. But it taught me really well how to be a team player, how to be a leader, how to work on various different projects. So just a variety of skill sets, basically. And coming into this place I didn't want a desk job. I didn't want to sit in a cubicle. So when I heard about this place in college, I had to get here. And when I finally got here and saw it, it was overwhelming. So I had to be a part of it. And got an offer just to be a part of it, and it's been a great relationship for the whole time.
Okay. So you work here full time? Are you mainly just customer relations? You're waiting on customers, or do you still unload trucks and everything?
I do. Yeah, I literally do everything. Even though my title is store manager, I mean, I still have to get in there and accept donations. I have to price stuff, move inventory. I do a lot of relationships with job training programs. It goes on and on and on. It's quite a lot.
What's your favorite job?
The favorite part of it is literally moving stuff. It's the simplest task. It's the least overwhelming. So, and it's quick results. You have a quick task and a quick solution. So it's a lot more satisfying because it's just quick.
Okay. Do you have a favorite day of the week?
Saturdays. Yeah.
And why Saturdays?
Mayhem. In a good way. Basically, here on a Saturday, it's a totally different animal. Because on the weekdays, we get a lot of contractors, landlords, that type of population. On the weekends, it's everyone, including their families. So you get to really see a large variety of people. You fulfill a lot of different needs. So there's a lot going on a Saturday. It's a trip. You have to really try and find a parking spot, too.
Are there any problems that you have to resolve?
Oh, yeah. I mean, in any retail business, you're going to find issues. I mean, one of the big things is that we have one-of-a-kind stuff. So many people want the same object. So trying to keep bringing in those donations and supply everyone's needs is really difficult. So that's really the main challenge, is trying to make sure we have enough for what everybody wants.
Is there anything else you want to add to it?
Just that everyone has to get down here and at least see this place. I mean, it's truly a trip. I mean, to come in here every day, you will see all different inventory every single day. It's constantly rotating in and out. And as things like this happen, we become more popular. The community knows us. They know, oh, I could really use that place, whether it's a doorknob, a toilet, or whatever. We have it.
Do you have a favorite item in the inventory?
Well, I mean, my favorite item, honestly, at this moment is the giant monkey. It's not for sale, but it's a really interesting piece. When people come in, most adults don't see it. The little kids point it out, and they're like, oh, my God. And then finally the adults see it like, I've been here for a year, and I've never seen that. But my favorite inventory item is, I described this to you earlier, it was a curved staircase, intact, solid oak, with banister and railing intact. Just not a single piece was taken off of it. Brought the whole thing in one shot. It was impressive. So.
Derek, what can you tell us about the inventory? What's the blend, the mix, and so forth? Walk us through the inventory here.
It actually might be easier to tell you what I don't have, but it's far and wide. I mean, anything from your bathroom to your kitchen, whether it's cabinets, a doorknob, mantelpieces, staircases, railings, you name it, we get it. We've even had phone booths, antique tools from the 1900s, just really unique stuff. Beyond what we get donated to us, we also salvage material. So we have a deconstruction crew that can go out and they can get old barns and beams. We actually have some of those just now that came in, old beams from a 100-plus-year-old barn. We also do our own added value projects, meaning we take components and make them into new items. So we have chalkboards right now, which we took 100-year-old wood, cut it down, and framed schoolhouse slate.
What are some of the other items that actually you can build additions to a house on?
Well, we do get a lot of dimensional lumber. We also get anything from any sheet good, drywall, OSB, melamine type material, Homosote, you name it. We get all that stuff. Goes as fast as it comes in, though, so you better get here quick. Beyond that, we get some really unique lumber. We get anything from redwood, quarter sawn oak, ipe, one of the iron woods of the world. It's very hard to get and it's very dense, and it's very expensive on the retail market. So getting it here is awesome. It flies out of here so quick, just because it's a very desired and rare product to come across.
Where do you come across wood like that?
Well, a lot of the quarter sawn oak is usually in more antique type materials where we salvage it. Other things like the ipe, there's local organizations that get it, they purchase it from Brazil, and they'll actually get it milled and worked on for usually high-end clients, downtown park benches, those kind of things. And whatever their leftovers are, they'll donate to us.
How about all the redwood we saw?
The redwood came from a gazebo type. I'm not sure how to really describe it, but like a gazebo from a golf course. It's like an erector set too, so it's very easy to put together. It's a very large project. Our deconstruction crew was out there for at least a week, taking that thing piece by piece, and then getting those in was really fun because the joists were all intact, 20-foot runs. So yeah, it takes a lot of work sometimes to get that stuff here.
I saw outside there's a lot of brick, stone, omni-stone?
All kinds of masonry. Bricks are very common, whether it's pavers or the bricks with the holes, cinder blocks, you name it. We even have a 100-year-old hand-cut sandstone out there. I'm not sure where that came from. It's been so long, but yeah, we get a lot of that too.
How about paint? Do you have a paint department?
We do, actually. We used to accept paint on donation, but it was much easier and more consistent to buy paint. So Amazon Paint is a 95% recycled latex paint. We buy that routinely over the course of the year. I get about 5 tractor trailer loads a year. year. Everything in colors and whites. All the colors are flat, and all the whites are coming flat and eggshell. And it's a really good quality paint for less than what you're going to pay at Home Depot for a Behr, but it has just as good coverage. Beyond that, we also routinely get garden supplies and soil, potting soil. We buy that. Worm castings is another local thing. It's basically Miracle-Gro. It's like a Miracle-Gro. My tomato plants grew 8 feet tall whenever I used it. It was quite impressive. Other than that, I mean, it's just...
How many toilets do you have here?
Oh, right now, probably at least 30 to 40. I might be underestimating that, actually.
How many different colors?
All colors. Mint green is very common, actually, from the early 30s and 40s, but mostly white. But we do occasionally get the black, the brown, the blue, you name it. So,
Pink.
And pink. And when someone wants a pink one, they really want that pink one. So,
now, when you get in these toilets, do you sell just the tank lids?
Yes, the tank lids by themselves come in all the time because you have a chipped toilet, not necessarily reusable, but the lid is always reusable. So we have many lids by themselves.
How about doors? How many doors do you think you have?
Hundreds. I think one year we estimated that we received at least a couple hundred a month.
And you sell that many?
Oh yeah, we sold, I think in last year's numbers, somewhere around 5,000 some odd doors. So.
How about doorknobs?
Equally as well. Every door that we usually get has hinges and doorknobs on it. We have a job training program with Goodwill where one of the things they process for us are our doors. They'll disassemble all the hardware, put all the measurements on it, so when you come in, all the doors are pre-measured for you so you can look quickly through them. They're sorted by type, whether it's storm, entrance, panel, commercial, slab, steel, you name it. And the antique door knobs, if you need crystal knobs, steel knobs, brass knobs, we have those as well.
Okay, I saw that you also get into roofing material. You still have, some slate. What other roofing products do you have?
Cedar shingles, asphalt shingles. The roofing slate is very not common, but sought after. A lot of people don't use it just for roofing, but they also use it for art projects. Pretty much everything. We also have a large quantity of terracotta Spanish roofing tiles right now as well.
Okay, what was you think one of the most expensive items that ever came through your doors?
Ooh. When I first started here, it's not a one particular object. It was heart pine flooring. Heart pine flooring, when we researched it, was almost extinct in some of the early 1900 era, and I think we sold a couple bundles for an excess of $10,000 to $15,000, basically for a room, just because it's so hard to come by.
Now, do you think your customer base, you have more homeowner shop here, or more builders, more designers, more artists, or is it a pretty even blend from all of them?
I'd like to say it's an even blend, but I think it just depends on the day of the week. Weekends are very heavily the families, and residential just their own projects, whereas during the weekdays we get the builders and the construction people and the landlords. So yeah, I think we genuinely have a pretty good mix.
Ceiling fans. I saw a few replacement blades for ceiling fans you have. How many of those do you think you have back there?
I'm going to take a wild guess and say 300.
300
Yeah,
blades.
just blades. The fans come in all the time. We usually try and keep them together if they came in together, but a lot of times the motors are burnt out. We just recycle those, and then the fan blades are still up for
Do you
sale.
sell that many fan blades?
Oh
Do you
yeah.
sell a lot of them?
Oh yeah. Yeah, it's a very common thing. It's just very hard because there's so many different proprietary fan blade styles. So coming in, you'll be able to find it. It might be a little bit of a hunt, but you'll find it.
What do you find that people ask you for the most? Is there one item you get the most requests for?
Well, the most commonly sold items are going to be doors, plumbing, whether it's a toilet or a sink, and then cabinets. Kitchen sets are actually a really, really sought after item here because we get them in all the time, and people love to save money on a kitchen, and it's a very costly item in your house. And it can make it look like a whole new room if you just buy a new kitchen. Even then, you can just replace the doors, and we get a lot of cabinet doors by themselves. If the cabinet itself is shot, we'll salvage the doors, and hopefully you can redo your whole kitchen, just the faces. It looks like a whole new kitchen.
Is there anything that you'd want people to be bringing you more than the most? If you could ask homeowners for anything, what would you be asking them to recycle with you?
That is a tough one. There are so many things I would want them to bring us.
Go down a list.
Well, the most common things like
top 10.
The top 10 would definitely be doors, kitchen sets, and cabinets by themselves. Any kind of lumber. We need lumber or dimensional or molding, trim galore. We need that. Hardware, tools, any kind of tools you can possibly have. We know a lot of tools get passed down. You get a little bit rusty. You might think they're useless. They're not. Around this time of the year, anything springtime related, any kind of planters or garden tools, those are really, really nice items for everybody. Beyond that, it's really nice. Any kind of a storage unit, office supplies. Not necessarily desks per se, because we get a lot of desks, but filing cabinets. I can never get enough filing cabinets. They're another item that's like $100 or more retail. Sell it here for $20, $25. It's not a top 10, but that's a pretty good start.
Well, when you say doors, what's an average price of a door?
$25 to $35. That's our average.
How about a toilet?
The toilet's $25.
How about a refrigerator?
That could be varying, but your average is probably around $75.
Okay, how about a doorknob?
Doorknob, if it's just your basic home doorknob, modern, $1. If you're looking at more of the antique, it could be anywhere from 20 to 40, give or take condition and quality.
Okay, I saw a whole bunch of hammers. What are you selling hammers?
Oh, if it's just your average hammer that came in, it's been pretty heavily used, $2.
$2?
Yeah.
Okay. Something like the toilet tank. How much would you sell just the tank of a toilet?
Well, the tank lid we sell for $5. It's very rare we get a tank by itself that's going to sell.
How about a fan blade?
25 cents.
25 cents.
Yeah.
So it's very worthwhile for somebody to make the trip down.
Oh,
here.
yeah.
Just never come down.
And you can find some amazing treasures in our mix. I mean, the chandeliers alone are gorgeous when we get the crystal chandeliers. So.
Now, the average time someone comes in, their first visit to your establishment, how long do you think they're here?
At least an hour, at least. I mean, they're just awestruck when they walk in our door. From the outside, doesn't look as appealing. But once you walk in that door, it's a whole nother world.
What's the most common comment you think they give you after they've been here an hour?
I can't believe you have this much stuff. It's a really big place.
Excellent. Thank you for your time, Derek.
Thank you.
What can you tell us about your recycling partners? I mean, when walking around, I see basically everything from electronics to paper to cardboard to lumber to everything. What can you tell us? Tell us a little bit about each of the different areas that you do recycle.
Sure. In addition to our primary mission, which is promoting conservation through the reuse of building materials, very shortly after we opened up this location, our partnership with the Pennsylvania Resources Council, which brought this project into existence, they reached out to us and said, "Look, we want to pilot some hard to recycle events. We want to do some collection events around things like tires and electronics and bad paint and things that you don't put in your blue bin on the curb, or things that are not easy to recycle." And we started doing these collection events at Construction Junction, and the response was quite robust. And in the process of doing that, we made a connection with the city of Pittsburgh, and this was before there was the blue commingled bins in the city of Pittsburgh, to create a drop-off location here at Construction Junction where Pittsburgh residents could come and do plastic, paper, junk mail, cardboard, newspaper, and to drop that material off. And this has been the most active drop-off location in the city of Pittsburgh. Even though there's curbside, people come from outside the city of Pittsburgh to use this location. Small commercial businesses recycle in that area as well. So it's been very successful. It's incredibly busy. It's a lot of material. So stepping back to the hard to recycle events, as those started to pick up steam and there started to be more demand, and we needed to do them, PRC needed to do them in more locations than just the east end of Pittsburgh, we started to have a discussion about, well, can we create some permanent opportunities for people to recycle some of these things at Construction Junction? So we, in addition to developing the partnership with the city of Pittsburgh, we have a partnership with Scott Electric, and they recycle our fluorescent bulbs and batteries and things like that. We have a partnership with New and Used Appliance Warehouse. So if you have a bad refrigerator, you can drop it off at CJ for a fee, and they'll come. They pick up that material from us. They remove the Freon, and they recycle the appliance. We have we put a scrap metal bin out in the parking lot, so our residential customers, instead of going to a large scrap yard, which is really more of an industrial, commercial type of operation, can bring things to our loading dock that we used to reject because a piece of metal, twisted, whatever, there wasn't a reuse for it, and we had to send people away. And instead now we can just take those things that may be metal, maybe too rusted, maybe in rough condition, and we can put it in our scrap dumpster. And then the next partnership that we put in place was a partnership with an e-waste recycler called eLoop, and they are a third-party certified e-waste recycler, and they're the only third-party e-waste recycler in the area, which means their operation gets audited by an independent international organization whose mission it is to keep electronics out of the third world, to be where they get demanufactured in conditions that are unsafe and not where most people would want to send these materials, which contain a lot of toxic materials. And so we created a partnership with them where we are one of their drop-off locations for electronics. They pick up that material. Those materials get demanufactured locally, and then those materials go out onto the commodities market, or they refurbish computers that can be reused and reuse those computers as well. So that was sort of the last of the things that we did with the Hard to Recycle events.
Mike, tell us about this area of your building.
This is a new project that we are embarking on with the Urban Design Build Studio from the Carnegie Mellon School of Architecture. Also, the Trade Institute of Pittsburgh is involved in this project. This space will be the future home of a project that we're calling Project RE, which basically this space will be a community room and a full-scale workshop that will be a woodworking shop, and also will have a metal shop. And it's basically, we're going to be working with Carnegie Mellon architecture students on projects where they will be working with us to design value-added products, things as simple as tables to wardrobes, all the way up to actually creating a prototype of a house that will have used building materials incorporated into it, but also a lot of new materials. The program also uses CNC routing equipment and things that are a little more high-tech than how the average homeowner uses this material. The thing that I'm personally excited about this project is that it gives a great opportunity to expose architecture students to used materials.
What can you tell us about this project? I mean, you're here in the building with Construction Junction. In what capacity is this?
It started, I guess, as a generous relationship between Construction Junction and us, leasing their spaces to build our projects starting a few years ago, and now it's grown into a partnership between the two entities, as well as the third entity, the Trade Institute of Pittsburgh, under an umbrella entity called Project RE. So what I guess we're bringing to the table is 3 different aspects of making a better built environment, with students here working on designs and bringing their knowledge of architecture to the table, CJ with the reuse materials, and then Trade Institute with skills and labor. We're hoping to create a space here that is going to be connected with the main space of CJ's retail, that is for the community. We'll have a workshop, wood shops, community room, galleries, and so it's a great opportunity to kind of engage multiple aspects of what each entity does together.
What is going on behind us?
Right now we are seeing the construction of a mobile digital fabrication unit that the Urban Design Build Studio has been working on for over a year now. The idea here is that we'll be able to pull this trailer with CNC router technology and additional digital fabrication technology to various building sites and have custom unique fabrication on site. And so right now the students they have the structure up, they're putting the skin over it so that it's weatherized and it can endure all the different conditions outside. And so this is just one of the projects that's going on right now. And we're currently mocking up another project for the actual space here and how the rooms will work. And on the other side of this wall is the entrance marquee that's going up currently before we blow out the wall and have the opening and the connection between the two spaces.
So, Mike, what can you tell us about the Computer Reach program that is here at the Construction Junction?
They located in our building a couple of years ago, and we were their mission very much resonated with our mission of reuse. And basically what they do is they take donations of used technology, they refurbish that technology, and then they distribute it to those who can't afford it. So they may refurbish Apple computers and get them to programs in Pittsburgh that can't afford an Apple computer. They may also refurbish that same type of computer and send it to Ghana. My wife and I actually took a group of CMU students a couple of years ago to Ghana to the Street Academy, which is a school that takes in kids from the street who basically are homeless. And that school did not have any kind of technology or computers in the school. When we came back, I got with Computer Reach, and they facilitated and sponsored the sending of 5 computers to that school, which was the first time the kids at that school had access to computers. So that's sort of a flavor of what they do. And they've sent computers to Africa, they've sent computers to Nicaragua, and a number of other places.
I understand you have a business within the business of Construction Junction. What can you tell us about this?
I sure can. Pittsburgh Center for Creative Reuse is a nonprofit organization inside of the nonprofit organization at Construction Junction. We like to think of ourselves as Construction Junction's quirky little sister. We are very similar to them in that we have a mission that cares about the environment and about reuse in the community. And we're different from them in a lot of ways as well. We don't have a formal relationship with them. We're a separate organization, but we also wouldn't be here without them. They have been an extremely important source of support for us, encouragement and mentoring as we have developed over the past few years.
Well, tell us about your business. What are the products you do, and some of the things that we're going to see?
Yeah, our mission is to promote creativity, conservation, and community engagement through material reuse. So a huge part of how we fulfill our mission is to provide a resource center where artists and teachers can get all kinds of interesting materials for creative projects. So the store that you've seen is that resource center. It's more than just a store. It's a place where people can come for inspiration and ideas and encouragement, and to just learn about how materials can be used for creative and educational projects.
So where do you get the material for your store?
All of our material is donated. So people bring us things like used art and craft supplies, fabric, yarn, sewing materials, office supplies and school supplies, but also we take things that have no other home. So we take discards from businesses, things that would normally just go straight to the landfill, but that can be really helpful for teachers and artists when they're teaching things or building things. Things like if you are an architect or a designer, you'll get lots of samples, like carpet samples and tile samples and cabinetry samples, right? When those lines are expired, that becomes trash. So those folks send tons and tons of that stuff to the landfill every year. But they can bring it instead to us, and then it turns into book covers and seating tiles for kindergartners and counting games and art projects. People paint on things. So all these things that businesses would normally throw away are really great for teachers and artists.
Well, tell us how you got into this. How long has the center been around? When did it start, and when did you come on board?
Pittsburgh Center for Creative Reuse was started in 2007 by Faye Miller and Rachel Dennis, who are friends of mine. I started with the organization about 2 years later when we opened up our first shop, which was inside Construction Junction. It was a little attic way up a bunch of stairs, and we had one outlet and ran our cash register and our space heater on the same outlet. But it really taught us very quickly that there was a market for what we wanted to do, that people were excited about the materials that we had. So after we were there for a couple of years, we were able to rent this space downstairs at Construction Junction, which is 4,200 square feet, and it has a creative workshop space and a whole bunch of amazing stuff for sale.
Well, what is your background that you were interested in doing this?
I am an artist, but it took me a long time to come to that. And I have a background in corporate communications and nonprofit management. And when I came to Pittsburgh, I was in a place where I was ready to do something a little bit different, and this turned out to be just perfect for me.
So you love what you do?
I love what I do.
Okay. What are any plans for the future, or just continuing as it's going?
Well, we're in a really building phase right now.
Okay.
We started out as all volunteers. I started as a volunteer. We now have 10 part-time staff members. 2 of us are full-time now, which is a huge step forward for us. Mm-hmm. And we're really in a building period for our organization. We're doing some strategic planning and figuring out how we can really be sustainable, not sort of going from year to year, but really being a solid and sustainable resource for the community. We like to think of ourselves as helping to build Pittsburgh's creative infrastructure. But in order to do that, we can't just rely on material sales. Unlike Construction Junction, where they have thousands of items that are, $100 each, $75 each, we're selling spools that a business threw away for 25 cents. So, yes, we do get most of our revenue and what it takes to support us from our store, but we'll always rely on community support as well. So we're working on building more of our educational programs, which has always been central to what we do, but also building our community support and our awareness in the community so that folks understand what we do, know we're here as a resource, but also want to support us.
Do you have any fundraising activities or any plans for one?
We do lots of different fundraising activities. Rather than one thing every year, we tend to have smaller things throughout the year. One thing that's coming up for us that's important is the annual Day of Giving. This is a day when every nonprofit in Pittsburgh has the opportunity to receive matching funds from the Pittsburgh Foundation, so we'll be asking our supporters to help us that day. There'll be another Day of Giving just for art organizations in the fall. We also, once a month, do something called bar crafts. Right now we're doing that at the Allegheny Wine Mixer. So every month we take a project to a bar and folks come and give us a little bit of money and they spend an evening crafting and drinking. So we do some kind of grown-up crafty things like that. And we'll probably have a few other sort of smaller things like that throughout the year. We just discovered that our van is not working anymore, so we're in sort of a urgent process of coming up with a fundraising plan so we can buy a new vehicle that will help us to deliver our programs to things like Three Rivers Arts Festival and also pick up donations, which is important for us as well.
How can people get in touch with you?
They should visit our website. It's www.pccr.org. And they can also find us on Facebook. We have a really active Facebook community where people share ideas and inspiration about things they can make.
Okay, great. Any last thoughts?
I'm just so pleased to meet you and grateful to be part of this really wonderful community of reuse here at Construction Junction. we love partnering with other organizations, and this is a great way for us to be part of that community.
Do you have volunteers that operate here also?
You know, we do have volunteers. We're not a volunteer driven organization. We have a community outreach coordinator that works with volunteers to bring them in, and we usually use volunteers for special projects. Like, they may help us clean up the yard, they may work on the sales floor, or we may have a day when somebody from a company like FedEx, for example, last year sent us 7 or 8 guys, and we had them do a lot of heavy work out in the yard, moving heavy stuff around, and very, very helpful, because, you know, we basically, you know, when you come right down to it, really what we're just this sort of big handling operation. It's like we're just moving stuff from here to there to here to there, and some things are really super giant, like a really large stained glass window that we brought in the other day that's almost too big to stand up in our space, to boxes of nuts and bolts and hardware. So, and, you know, nothing comes in a box, nothing comes with instructions, nothing's packaged in a way that's easy to move on and off of a vehicle or a car or whatever. So, but we do try to recruit volunteers, and there are always plenty of things for volunteers to do, because we always have tons of material that we need to handle.
With Construction Junction, what is your job title here? What do you do for the company?
I'm the community outreach coordinator.
Okay.
And
what does that mean?
what does that mean? Yeah. So I do a lot of the public engagement for Construction Junction. Okay. Basically, my role falls into 3 categories. One is coordinating volunteers. So if we have a project where we need some volunteers, or if an agency or an organization calls me and says, we want to do a volunteer event, do you have something for us to do? I help coordinate all of that and make that happen. And so most recently we had a group of students from Carnegie Mellon that were looking to do volunteer day. And so we came out and actually had them helping us get our yard cleaned up a little bit and palletizing bricks. But there's always, you know, something to do volunteer-wise here. So that's the one aspect. Then I do public engagement, special events, things like the Pittsburgh Home Show. Various organizations will be sponsoring community events, community days. I coordinate getting the truck out to various municipalities that are having recycling events, tabling events where fairs, renovation fairs, things like that, where they want Construction Junction's presence to be there, so that folks realize that there's an opportunity not only to purchase from the store, but that we do accept donations, and that's how, you know, we get all of our material, is through the donation process. And then the third part of my job is coordinating the ReGives program, which is Construction Junction's way of working with other nonprofits that may not be able to afford some of the things that we may have. And so we'll work on making a donation to other nonprofits of materials that may be hard for us to sell, or that we have a lot of that other organizations can use.
Can you give us the name of some of the organizations you work with?
It's truly just a lot of different church groups, theater groups, communities that are working on community gardens, things like that. Most recently, we've been doing some work with GTEC and their projects of reclaiming some of the vacant land up on in the south side. But it's truly, you know, a wide variety of nonprofits.
Any fundraising activities that you do outside of your retail stores?
Yes, and we were a little late coming to the sort of fundraising event as a nonprofit. We spent a number of the first years we were in existence just trying to get things up and running. But in 2006, 2007, we reached this point where we realized we needed to diversify our revenue sources coming into the operation, so we could do a lot of the programming. And in 2007, we launched the Steel City Big Pour, which is a craft beer tasting event. And it was the idea of one of our board members who really likes craft beer and really likes great food, and had come to me and actually wanted to rent Construction Junction to do a craft beer event, because we've held some really big events in CJ over the years. Handmade Arcade, for example, that's now in the convention center, launched in Construction Junction, and it just kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger until the point where we couldn't hold it anymore, and it moved to the Armory, and then it moved to the convention center. But we realized that we could do big events inside this really big building, and we could manage it and everything. And when he brought this idea to me, I said, well, yeah, I'll let you do it, but let's make it a fundraiser for Construction Junction. And it has, this will be year number 8. We sell about a little over 2,000 tickets go on sale. We do about 1,000 tickets through sponsorship. The tickets to the event sell out in probably about 10 minutes. It's an extremely popular event. It's a significant amount of work, but it raises significant funds for the operation. And it's just become a really great event for us. And it sort of fits the kind of organization we are. We had conversations about, well, should we have a wine and cheese party or whatever? That's just not sort of the gritty kind of nature of Construction Junction. So craft beer and really great food, bar food, and a lot of restaurants. And the other thing that we found out through organizing this event was that a number of the restaurants that participated in the event initially had gotten a lot of their materials from us. So they were very appreciative of what they were able to get from us, and were very eager to participate. And now the event's so popular that we have more people that want to participate than we can accommodate. So it's a really great problem to have.
When is the event?
It is the Saturday after Labor Day. So I believe this year that's the 7th.
And you hold that here at Construction Junction?
Here at Construction Junction, yeah.
How about giving us somebody wants to reach you, what's the best way to do it? What's your address here, your email, your phone number? How can people get in touch with you?
The best way to get in touch with us is to visit our website, which is constructionjunction.org. And on that website, we'll really give you, if you want to make a donation, it will take you to the donation page and the number that you can call and the extension to talk to our donation manager. It'll take you to our community outreach coordinator that will work with you if you want to volunteer. And his email and his contact information is there as well. If you're interested in engaging our deconstruction unit, we have a page about that unit and how you contact that unit. If you want to know what kinds of stuff you can recycle at Construction Junction besides bringing your building materials, there's a page on the website that talks about our recycling, what kinds of things you can bring here. So that's really the best way to interface with us. How do we maximize the opportunity around people making that one very simple but powerful act to decide not to take the easy road and throw that material away, but call one of these organizations and say, I'm not going to throw it away. I'm going to reuse it.
So that wraps you up our latest segment of Around Town. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. This is truly a treasure here at Construction Junction.